So, Emma, what are we talking about today?
Baby-led weaning.
Yeah, I don't know if there's anything to add to that, really.
How people feed their babies/toddlers.
It's the one where we chat about first foods and going on to solids. This is probably a good way to describe it. This episode is called Sweet Potato. Welcome back to the Crippen household.
Whoop, whoop.
You're listening to Don't Wake the Baby, the best podcast out there in all regards, not just parenting, ever, just ever.
Across
best podcast.
Across the board.
Yep, that's it. You're joining us today in the imaginary...
Igloo?
That's quite a good one. Yeah.
Okay, what was a good one? Everybody hear that? He enjoyed that.
Yeah, that's good. I mean, it's like, what's the word? Juxtaposition, I think, is what I'm looking for.
Yes.
Because we're currently sat in like a sauna.
Maybe Mama forgot to turn the heating off in this room last night. So, because this room doesn't have a radiator, we have like a little heater.
Our little recording.
And we were recording
room.
yesterday, and maybe Mama left it on all night. So now we've come in, and it's a bit hot.
So sit with us in this imaginary igloo while we chat about parenting and just share stories and talk about baby-led weaning. It's quite a specific topic today.
It is.
Which I think is good. We often go for topics that are pretty big.
And why, yes.
And we end up not being able to talk about barely half the things we want to talk about. So hopefully this time we might be able to cover more in-depth stuff we want to talk about. I'm Elliot, the one who prefers coffee, and with me is...
Emma, the one who prefers tea, but specifically green tea.
Yeah, this is very true. Those of you who know us in person, it's kind of what if you say, do you want a hot drink? It's what we'd go for.
Yeah, and then I always annoy people because I always go, do you have any green tea?
Yeah. Do you have any of the funny teas?
Yeah, any funny teas, just not normal tea.
Neither of us like normal tea,
No.
do we? No.
Which isn't very English, really, is it?
Yeah.
But
Or very Yorkshire.
oh yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah, apologies.
There's going to be pitchforks at the door. Don't drink Yorkshire tea. Get them out.
I thought it was appropriate, considering we're talking a bit about food today.
Yeah, no.
Give an insight into a little bit about who we are.
Shall we start from the beginning?
We've missed a bit.
Oh, no.
Bing, ding-a-ding-a-ding.
Oh, yes.
It's parenting achievement time. See, I'm unprepared. I've not got my sound effect.
Oh.
I can't be bothered now. It's too late. It's too late. We've missed it.
He's not putting in post either. He's just going to go with a
Oh,
ding-a-ling.
yeah. We're not that professional. We don't do things like that.
Right, go on then. Do you have an achievement lined
Do I
up?
have an achievement? What was I going to share? I thought we could tell people about... now Lily started talking. There's a few funny things she's come out with in terms of pronunciation.
Yes. Yeah.
So one of her favourite toys to carry around, has been for a long time, is a plushie Bingo from the show Bluey.
Yeah.
I'm sure many of you will know what we're talking about. It's a little red dog.
Red?
She's a red.
Well, she's
healer.
a red. Yeah, you're right. Yeah, okay.
I suppose.
It's more like orangey.
I suppose she is technically orange, but yeah, it's based on a red healer.
Yeah, okay, that's fine. I'll let him get away with it.
Being
Technicalities got me.
details here. Her pronunciation is a little off.
Yeah.
And so she goes round shouting, Bimbo!
Yeah. Where's Bimbo?
It's always amusing. And combined with another word that's one of her favourites, which, do you want to explain?
Yeah, so my sister Kirsty has a dog called Lexi, and Lily loves this dog because she's dog mad. And Lily goes around saying Lexi, but it doesn't sound like Lexi. It sounds like sexy. So often, we really hope she never puts the words together of Lexi and Bingo, because it'll be sexy bimbo. So we had a lot of... Jack's going to come up with a very fancy word then.
Jovial?
Joviality, I was going to say.
Oh, wow.
But I don't know that.
Goodness gracious.
So what happens when we record so early in the morning?
Blimey.
I read in a dictionary.
Crikey.
I don't know.
What is this?
I don't know, it's a word. But basically we had a lot of Look, I can't speak.
Where's your words? Where's your words gone?
Basically, we couldn't stop laughing when we were at Kirsty's house because she just would keep throwing the ball and going, "Go, sexy!" So Kirsty's now calling her dog Sexy Lexi.
Do let us know if you have a similar kind of experience or kind of a moment that you're like, yes, that sounds familiar.
Yeah.
Is there words that your toddler has said, they say now, or maybe it's in the past if you've got older children, that were particularly funny or amusing? Be great to hear. Well, reheat that tea for the 10th time in a row, and let's get into talking about baby-led weaning.
Well, should we say when we decided to start? Oh, or maybe how did we decide to baby-led wean?
That's a good question. So I've no idea how many people opt for this over other types of weaning, spoon feeding, baby food. What other sort of weaning is there?
I think that's it, isn't it?
Is that about, are they the main ones?
I think you feed them from like a pot, or I know people make their own food.
You can do make your own puree type
Yes,
thing. So
yeah.
rather than buying it, you could like zizz up.
Zizz up. Because I remember before I'd read up on anything, I was like going to buy a load of stuff to do that. And then I think I started reading up about what was recommended. And then I was like, oh, baby-led weaning. What's that?
Before becoming a parent, I had no idea what that was.
I know. I generally thought. I'd even looked up. I'd like on my Amazon wish list, like stuff
baby
to make.
Food.
No, stuff to make, because I thought, we'll be good and make our own.
Right.
I was feeling ambitious at that point. Because, with your first child, you try and do what's best.
Yeah.
So I put a lot in my Amazon basket, and then I was like, maybe I should read up how you start feeding and when. And then
was this even before we had a baby?
I think so. Yeah.
We were very prepared.
Yeah, I'm very scholarly.
Yeah.
I'm quite a.
You like to do research.
I do research.
I mean, I'm just muddling through all this, and Emma's the one who comes and says, "This is what we should be doing now."
Yeah. Elliot's like, "So what are we doing?" I'm like, "Well, I've read up, and
please tell me how to parent."
And then I ordered 2 books, and this was once again before we had the baby, and learned about all the grips. Like, there's the pincer grip where they can start using to pick things up, and then there's something palm something.
Oh yeah.
It's all in the depths of my mind now, but at the time I was on it. Palmer grip?
Maybe.
Is that something? I feel like that sounds like something.
This is why you listen to us, isn't it? Us talking nonsense. We've not researched anything. Probably getting a load of stuff wrong.
I did,
at the time.
years ago. Yeah, I think that's how we decided. Was basically I read a load of stuff online and decided that sounded like the best way forward. It also seemed to me like, I know in some ways seems like more work, but it seems like less work in that I wasn't going to be pureeing stuff, and I wasn't going to have to buy a load of separate food. Yeah.
We know lots of people have done various different things.
Yeah.
And it's always an interesting debate, isn't it, about what's easiest. And it kind of depends what your
lifestyle is really
like. But sometimes baby-led weaning seems like more work because you got to cook stuff, there's more mess.
I think especially
it's slower, they
but also it depends if you eat when they eat.
Yeah.
We changed our time so we just ate at baby/toddler time.
Yeah, well, that's the other way to do it, isn't it? Where other parents have told us this who have multiple children who, with the second child or whatever, there's they can just pick bits off
the plates, yeah.
what the rest of us are eating and just go along with it and just slowly introduce bits of food.
Yeah.
Which I suspect we might end up doing.
I feel like.
But for our first one, we as you often do with the first child, you put maximum effort in.
Yeah.
So we started off with sweet potato was the first food we tried Lily on, and we started quite early. Do you want to talk about that?
Yes. So we're going to have to go in the depths of my mind. We started when she was 5.5 months. Is that right?
I think just before 5 months.
Just before 5 months, which I know once again guidelines normally wait 6 months, but I think that's generally most children will be safe at that point. So that's fair to give as an average guideline. But we knew from family members that other people started earlier. And basically it's based on, can your child kind of hold themselves up?
And showing an interest
And do
in
they
food,
look interested
which
in food?
has never really been a problem. All of
No.
your family's babies, what we call the Womble babies,
Yes.
the nickname for your family, are like mega foodies and love drinking and eating.
All shown an interest pretty quick. They got it down pretty to be like, yep, that's food, that looks nice.
And a lot of your family have started introducing food predominantly because they were drinking so much.
Yeah.
And they were like, well, let's try and, if they're not filled up,
I think also a lot of it, they end up waking up and stuff more because they're generally like hungry.
They're not full.
Yeah. But I would also say we start out with very big babies normally as well. So I think their just growth rate's a lot quicker.
Yeah. It always amuses me that a lot of these measurements for all sorts of things with babies, they do by age.
Yeah,
and it's
not weight and size.
Not weight or development.
Which I get, yeah, because development can be very different depending on the child.
It's like we've had problems with car seats and things because they're like strict, like, oh, this is for this age. And I'm like, yeah, but Lily's massive. She's the size of that age. It should be done by weight.
Well, my sister in France says in France they do it based on weight.
Yeah.
Which does seem like makes more sense, really. Yeah. But yeah, so we started early, but she took to it like
definitely
a duck to water.
Yeah, she was very interested, wasn't she? First time we offered her some sweet potato, she wasn't eating it, but she definitely picked it up and like put it in like...
She tried to eat it.
Tried to eat it,
yes. Because a lot of people say it's very messy. And it is messy, but also Lily was she was intent on eating, like, or trying to eat. She wasn't intent, like, a lot of children, they say it's really good for them to, like, play with it. And, like, so even baby-led weaning is great just for them to get used to textures and feelings and things.
Sensory stuff.
Whereas Lily, she wasn't interested in any of that. She just wanted to put it in her mouth.
This is Lily all over. She's always a bit like this. It's very similar now even, where she's not very messy. Like, they do messy activities at nursery and she's like trying to use a paintbrush or like a knife and fork.
She's like, I don't want to put my hand in the paint.
Doesn't want to get... And it was a bit like that with baby-led weaning where she did get messy, obviously.
Yeah, and she'd use her hand to eat with.
Yeah. But I know I've seen like loads of like TikTok videos and things where like kids are like smothering food into their hair.
Yeah.
And like just a complete mess.
Or like throwing it. Like,
yeah.
Whereas Lily would be aiming for the mouth. So she wouldn't be messing about. Like,
so maybe that would affect our decision.
Yeah.
So if we had a different temperament child that was like that, we might have given up
just
quite
poured
quick.
it on the floor and be like, oh God.
Which was good because I'm a bit of a clean freak.
Yeah.
So
I think she's inherited it off you, really. Because I'm definitely not.
I would have struggled a bit with all the mess. I know some other people, one of the main reasons not to do baby-led weaning is because of the load of mess that it creates.
And also we did the open cup thing.
Yep.
As she was like baby-led weaning, we'd always have like a little cup of water that she could drink out of that was just open, so she could just use little hands and drink out of it.
Yeah. There's a few other things I want to come back to on that topic there, but just while I'm thinking of it, my main recollection of this whole phase was just being really excited because like it's a huge development thing and it's like really fun watching them learn new skills, like being able to pick up a cup and drink and picking up food. We have so many photos and videos of her like eating, of her messy, which I also find fascinating because I almost find it a bit disgusting looking at other people's children who are like covered in food and mess, but somehow when it was my own child I was like, oh, this is adorable.
Yeah. I think that's the case with a lot of things with children. You're like, oh, when my child does it, that's adorable, but it's a bit gross when somebody else's kid does it. Yeah, I get that. I think I just don't have the same gross factor.
Yeah, we have a difference in that you're quite keen on being tidy.
Yes.
Whereas I don't mind stuff being untidy, but I like things to be clean.
Yes. Opposite sides of a coin there. Getting off topic.
Yes.
So yeah, no, it was really exciting. And I remember like I got really excited. I went to like the greengrocers. And it's this when I was trying to be really good and helpful for the environment when we had more money before nursery.
Yeah. Well, actually, we should say when we started baby-led weaning, it was before like the cost of living crisis as well.
Yeah, it was,
so it didn't bother us too much buying all the extra food. And we seemed to get through a ton of food.
We did.
Even though like she barely ate any of it.
Well,
there was a lot of waste.
And she only did we'd try and do I think it was 2 little meals a day to start off with. Or did we do 1 meal a day to start off with?
Yeah, I think we did 1 and then we went up to 2. I think breakfast was always the one that came last.
Yes. Because she ate every other meal quite well, but breakfast was always hit or miss, wasn't it?
Yeah. One of the things that I had not anticipated at all and always baffles me was the amount of milk they drink doesn't go down.
No.
At least not straight away. Because we were kind of like, well, she's eating now, and she was actually consuming quite a bit of the food she was eating. And we were like, but how is she still drinking the same amount of formula?
Yeah, that was crazy.
Where does it all go?
Yeah.
How big's your stomach?
With stomach. So when they say it's the only size of their balled fist or something, and I'm like, how does she fit all that in there then?
Yeah.
And there's another good tip. If you're unsure if they've actually eaten anything, you will find out when they do a poo, because baby poos show you a lot.
Oh, yeah, I'd forgotten that.
Yeah.
When they start eating, their poos completely change,
Completely change, yeah.
Wow, yeah.
So you just bring it all back.
It's an experience. It is funny, isn't it? I mean, for any non-parents listening, it comes up quite a bit talking about parenting. The main things we talk about is sleeping, lack of sleeping,
bowel movements. Yeah. We saw the first year of her life, our WhatsApp conversations to each other would be like, she's drank this much, done a poo. Drank this much, done a wee. Just, constant little updates about her personal...
The other thing we tried to implement, which we did, and it worked well, but has now completely gone out the window, was eating round a table.
Oh, yes.
And initially we were very thinged this is it. We've started eating. We're going to try and implement good habits. We're all going to sit round and eat together at a table.
Not of the TV.
Yeah, no TV. And when we were doing baby-led weaning, that worked. That worked pretty well. Yeah. It also worked well because it meant our kitchen floor was a much better surface for cleaning.
Yeah.
Being sat in the living room with the TV on, which is a problem these days with a toddler.
It's a shame. I'm we really need to start trying to eat around the dining table again.
We do.
It's just some nights it's a lot of work, and I'm I'd like to watch something, and I'd like to sit and eat. Yeah.
Yeah.
Just feeling the parent guilt. Because we started so well.
Yeah.
We were so on it.
I'm hesitant to, what am I trying to say? It would be easier if I didn't have such a thing about flaws.
Yes.
So
yeah, it's true. I'm blaming you now. It's not my fault.
That's why I was hesitant to say that. Like I was saying, one of the reasons it works quite well eating in the kitchen or dining room, wherever it might be, is the floor surface. It's quite easy to clean.
Yeah.
Whereas eating in the living room, watching the TV, and you've got carpets, a lot harder to clean. However, I have a big thing where I hate wooden floors. I don't like them. I can't. I'm sorry, I can't help it. I don't like them.
Doesn't.
No.
You should try house hunting with this man.
It has caused problems. Nearly all the houses we look at, they're like, oh, well, we've revamped the downstairs and it's got lovely wooden laminate floors everywhere. And I'm like, horrible.
Yeah.
I don't want it. I would rip them out and put carpet in.
Which would be a waste of money. It means a lot of houses have been discounted because they don't have the right floors.
I mean, my opinion is slowly changing over time now that I have 2 clumsy girls in the house.
Yeah, true.
One being Mama and one being the daughter. Both of which spill things all over the place.
Yeah, we make a lot of mess. She's got a good excuse because she's a toddler, but I'm just naturally very clumsy. So we started off strong. We all ate around the table.
Yeah.
She ate well.
And it's just been downhill from there.
Yeah.
This episode is sponsored by the Methodist Church.
Da-da-da-da.
Yeah, there you go. I mean, it's kind of is. I mean, all the episodes are brought to you by us, by our partnership with Kairos, and we have some funding through the Methodist Church as well. That's kind of why we're doing this and how we're able to do it, to let you guys know, I suppose. We're both part of the Methodist Church, although it's not what we grew up with. What do you like about the Methodist Church?
Oh, put on the spot.
Yeah.
I think my first thing I liked, which I know probably people could say of any church, is that they were very, like, pleased to see you, like, and enthusiastic when you turned up.
Welcoming,
Yeah.
like good hospitality.
And after that, I like more, like, social action-y kind of things that they do.
Yeah, once we dig more into what they're about. I mean, I always think, we often say this in the church, social action. I wonder if it's a bit of a jargon word that if you're not used to our type of terminology,
Yeah, it's
kind of
true.
just means like helping people.
Yeah.
You know, showing our, God's love through kindness to other people.
Basically,
through
going
practical
out
help.
and do stuff.
Yeah.
But then it's hard because, like, I wouldn't say, it's the only, Christian denomination that do that.
Oh, no, not at all. I always think we're kind of similar to, like, the Salvation Army in that regard.
I'd say, yeah.
Methodists are going to come back and say we've completely, like, misrepresented it on
true.
here. But, yeah, no, I think from my experience of Methodist churches, and they're all very different, which is kind of the idea. That welcome and stuff is what initially attracted me, because it's not the sort of church where you can kind of just go in, slip in and hide at the back.
Yeah.
Generally, people are always going to be like, hello, you're a visitor. We'd love to like get to know you and, help and support you.
Yeah.
Ideally, anyway. That's the idea.
Yeah.
I mean, we're very aware that in reality, a lot of Methodist churches, like many churches in the UK, are kind of full of grey-haired people.
Doesn't mean they can't be welcoming.
Oh, no. Yeah.
I wouldn't say, like, go and find your Methodist church. Go find what works for you. It's probably not going to like what I've said. But regardless of that, I think you do what fits for you and what works.
Yeah.
So
you can find out more about all this, our links with the Methodist Church and with the Kairos Movement over on our webpage, www.kairosmovement.org.uk/Don't Wake the Baby.
I was trying to think what else we got that was useful for baby-led weaning. We got a little steamer, which was really useful because it was quite quick at then cooking things to be ready.
I mean, we're both quite into cooking, which probably helped, but we did learn a whole new array of things around how to cook for babies.
Yeah.
We'd not really steamed vegetables before.
No,
so that was something we tried and worked well.
Yeah.
We found that, counter to what you might think, Lily actually wasn't that into like plain food. So like we seasoned everything really well. I mean, we've talked about sweet potato. We should maybe say what we did with that. We basically made chunky sweet potato chips.
Yes.
That were like well seasoned with a kind of a skin on.
Yes, yeah.
So, pretty grown up.
Yeah. No, I really like them.
Yeah.
But I think it is a thing. This is me all over. I think I was reading up about this, and a lot of toddlers or babies really like strong flavours. Like, and it's a thing, sometimes they grow out of and sometimes they don't, but there's, for some reason, they really like strong flavours. Because, like, Lily now really likes pickle and curries. Like, she likes quite spicy foods.
That's meant to be one of the big pluses of doing baby-led weaning. They say that an exposure to kind of a bigger variety of textures and foods and not just relying on purees means that they are like less picky later in life.
But I haven't found that's true for the moment.
I mean, we did a food episode earlier in our podcast in season 1.
Yeah.
And in there we talked about that Lily does like a big variety of things. However, since then, things have gone downhill again.
So it's limited.
Yeah, it's gone back to being quite picky.
Yeah.
So it's not really worked so far. Maybe in the long run.
But maybe it's like overall.
Yeah.
Maybe. But yeah, the minute it doesn't seem to have panned out the way one would have hoped.
No.
Like, she definitely won't eat broccoli now if I gave her that.
I just get a bit jealous. Like, I see other kids, there's things that we do probably that they're jealous of, but I get jealous that I see other little kids and they're like giving them little things of like tomatoes that they like to eat, or other little bits of fruit and veg, and I'm like,
or blueberries.
Yeah, and I'm like, Lily would just not touch that.
No, she'd be like, what's this?
And we've done better in that I've really been trying to eat healthily around her, to like showcase, like, have
salads. Yeah,
I have like fruit for breakfast, and I like try and offer it to her
because it is what they say you should do.
Yeah,
like lead by example, eat healthy food.
I know in our food episode before, I wasn't setting a good example. I was.
No, it wasn't.
But I'm doing a lot better.
You are doing a lot better.
And nothing's really changed.
Maybe it's a slow osmosis, though.
Yeah. Maybe. If you have older children or are further down this journey than we are, we'd love to hear from you about how it's worked out. Are we doing the right thing? Give us some tips. On that note, do get involved with the conversation on the podcast. We'd love to hear your thoughts, responses to anything we've said. We're very open to other experiences and points of view. We'd love to hear from you if you've had some, done things differently. Do you want to tell people how they can get involved, Emma?
Maybe. You can, obviously there's YouTube, comment, Instagram. You can message the page.
Yeah, the thing, our Instagram thing. You know how it works.
And then on Facebook, we have like a little members group. It's not like a cost thing. Anyone can join.
Yeah. All free here.
Yeah. So, that's how people can get involved.
Yeah. Highly recommend the Facebook group chat. It's really good to hear from lots of people on there.
Yeah.
How they're doing with parenting, get support, and
let people know what topics we're gonna cover, so they can kind of give us stuff beforehand.
I mean, really, our podcast is all about connecting parents around Yorkshire and beyond, and so. We'd love you to join the kind of group chat there as a mechanism for building more community rather than just, listening to us and our voices.
Yeah, so talking into the void.
Yeah, that's it. Are you out there? Hello? Is anyone there? Do let us know if you're listening. We'd love to connect with you.
Yeah.
So shall we talk a bit more about the different foods that Lily ate and go into a bit more detail on that? Because that was quite fun. Obviously we've talked about sweet potato. What other stuff did we feed her?
We used to do porridge fingers a lot.
Oh, yeah.
They were quite successful for a while.
Yeah, I'd forgotten about that. That was a good one. She quite liked that. Again, it was all about things that she could pick up easily, in a hand, in a fist.
Because we also did steak.
Yeah.
She was a big fan of steak.
And I mean...
she couldn't actually eat the steak.
If you're imagining, we served her a whole steak and gave her a knife and fork, okay? It's not quite like that.
Yeah,
we chopped it up into strips.
Yeah.
So she can pick it up. And she doesn't eat it as such.
No, they just, suck all the goodness out of it, basically.
Yeah, they just suck it.
Yeah, and then it'd be really weird. It'd go grey afterwards.
It was really weird. It turned into just this grey, oblong, slimy thing.
But I remember reading up. It said it was great for them because they basically get all the good stuff.
So this was something I wanted to bring up. I'd find it fascinating to hear from listeners who maybe are vegetarian or vegan, and if they've done baby-led weaning or things like that. How do you navigate meat and stuff? Obviously we probably guess we're not, and you grew up on a farm, so we were quite happy feeding our
meat's
baby
part
snake.
of my life.
I'm trying to remember what your mum called it, because
she called her a cave baby because we were feeding her steak.
She really couldn't get to grips with baby-led weaning at all, and thought it was almost
child abuse.
That it was bad that we were giving our baby steak rather than spoon feeding them some nice puree.
She kept telling me I should feed a baby porridge all the time. She kept saying baby porridge is so good for them. And I was like, yeah, but we're not doing that. And then I remember we had an argument at one point because she tried to spoon feed Lily, and I was like, we're not spoon feeding her. It was a whole thing.
Yeah. Even my parents struggled a little bit in trying to kind of grasp how we navigated food. They'd struggle with timings about trying to have food ready when Lily was actually hungry and not when they wanted to eat.
Yeah, I think people who haven't been around little kids generally we just eat when we eat for her times.
Yeah,
we don't eat for our own times, and now it's very hard for us when we go out anywhere. Because people want to eat at normal adult. I was going to say humans, but we're still human. Normal adult times.
We have bypassed human. We're beyond. Parents are beyond human. We're just a new species. We're this evolved creatures.
But basically, people are always we want to eat at 1 or 2 o'clock, and I'm like, we normally 11:30 or 12 for lunch.
Yeah, 12 at a push.
12 at a push because we're used to eating at toddler time.
Yeah. And for a while, Lily napped at 12.
Yeah.
So it's you got to get your food in before then. So,
yeah.
it can't be at 12.
And because we were really we had the luxury because we work from home, but we really tried to eat at least one of us always with her.
Yeah.
So it was social rather than just like, you're eating now. And people can say this is a thing for other mothers, but Lily always wants what's on my plate more than what's on her own plate.
Definitely. I mean, that's a good point. With going back to the baby-led weaning phase, like you being gluten-free means that we were limited to a certain extent the variety of food we could give her. Like,
I mean, to save money, we'd often just give you and her a glutinous option and me the gluten-free option.
Because as well, other people will have allergies and things that the baby won't have.
Yeah.
It's like, so talking of allergies, like nuts.
Yeah.
Again, I don't know if we've got any listeners that have nut allergies, but we researched it and we're like, it's quite good to introduce that quite
Really
early to a baby's
yeah.
diet to help them get used to it.
Yeah.
Is that right?
Yes, no, it's true.
I'm looking at my resident expert here.
It's definitely true. That and like seafood as well. Because like Lily had a thing like to garlic mayo.
We think. Again, it was hard to identify. She had a rash around her mouth in response to... It was either that or grapes.
Yes.
We weren't quite sure at the time.
It was a space of like 5 minutes she'd been fine. And then it was like there was a huge red rash around her mouth.
I think we were on our way to like a wedding or something at the time.
And I
which
was
wasn't
really
great timing.
panicking because I was like then going, oh my God, she's going to like go into anaphylactic shock. She's really allergic to something. But she was fine. It just went down.
Right, we've come to our usual segment where we like to look back and think about the 90s when we were kind of growing up, roughly.
Roughly,
yeah. A lot of millennials have a link
the
with
late
them.
90s.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a very young millennial, so...
Oh, so young.
I'm not, there's not a brag.
Yeah.
I'm just
He's
saying...
like, you're an old millennial.
I'm just saying it's like, for me, early 2000s are kind of more... like influential, whereas if you're maybe a slightly older millennial, the 90s.
It's so vast though, isn't it? Like
it's a big age span.
I'm actually still considered a fairly young. I mean, there's only 2.5 years between me and Elliot, but some people are in their 40s now. Like it's quite a wide span.
Yeah, definitely. And I know, looking at our stats, our listeners range really varied between like 25 to up to mid 40s and beyond.
If you're like, well, you guys weren't really in the 90s. We were, just not,
We have an affinity with it, though. We like it. I like a lot of the things the 90s.
We were.
So our usual question, what do you think things have changed with like weaning and starting on food?
Definitely. As we've mentioned, my mum was very anti-baby-led weaning. I think it was just a really foreign concept for her because she'd never heard of it and it wasn't really a thing when we were growing up.
Yeah. Caveman food.
Cave baby.
Who would feed a baby steak? Huh. Crazy.
Yeah.
What are we like as parents?
She really didn't like it. Telling you. I heard a lot about how bad it was.
But it is kind of at risk of, I don't want to like shame people that don't do it, but it is kind of natural in that a lot of babies, even when they're spoon fed, like to pick stuff up.
Well, I was
going to
mention this. So my sister Kirsty, with her almost 6-month-old.
Yeah. No, over 6 months now.
Over 6 months now. See, I have no idea. She was trying to spoon feed, but her little girl just isn't on it. She's like, I'm feeding myself.
Yeah. And it's probably worth saying you don't have to do one way or the other.
No, you can mix.
We know people that have kind of predominantly spoon fed, but then also give them like little bits of toast and things that they're able to pick up. Definitely.
And whatever is easiest for you, I'd say is the way to go.
Yeah. I know we're slightly going back again on ourselves, but we had one of those like glass cups again, which like was slightly worrying. Like I think in the 90s there was a lot of like plastic and like kid friendly things, whereas nowadays it's much more like
treating them like little adults.
Yeah, you give them things
or replicating what adults have, I should say.
I'm sure they had a name, those glass cups.
Yeah,
they're just like little, like a shot glass.
Yeah, bigger than a shot glass.
Yeah,
but not the full size of a big cup.
Yeah. And they're like...
Pirate?
Yeah, like that. I can't remember what you call it. Is it like tempered glass or something?
Something like that. So it's meant to be hard to break.
The worry is always that they're going to throw it on the floor and it will smash. Yeah. But it never happened. Like she threw it on the floor multiple times, never broke.
No.
And thinking back to like when I was little, I never had anything like that as a kid. I remember having...
Sippy cups.
Yeah. Not like sippy cups nowadays though. Like I remember having... like a Winnie the Pooh cup that had that like water groove around the outside and it had like sparkles and stuff that would float about.
Oh, yeah.
Do you know those?
Yeah,
They're really hard to find
them.
nowadays.
Yeah, they were really fun.
I don't know what you call them. It had like a really thick plastic.
I remember
because
they'd move and the sparkles would move. Yeah.
I used to really like that.
I used to like them, yeah.
Bringing back memories.
Oh, yeah, I used to love them. And I also remember I had like a Cocoa Pops plate to have my breakfast in.
Oh, yeah.
Because Snap, Crackle, Pop. And it had like the little people.
Yeah.
I remember I used to love that play as well.
So this is fascinating. We're going to get way more into this in some future episodes, but it's making me realise that I wonder if one of the themes of like the 90s, that we were really influenced by like consumer
merchandising.
Stuff.
Yeah.
Isn't it crazy how much of that stuff we had? Whereas these days we've gone, like we're so influenced by this kind of trend of like Montessori type stuff.
Yes.
Again, we'll get into that in another episode if you don't know much about that or want us to talk about it. Yeah, really fascinating, isn't it?
Well, it is true because I remember me and my sisters were talking because we went to the swimming baths recently. Elliot always laughs.
The leisure centre?
The leisure centre.
Swimming pool?
I call it the swimming bath.
Fascinating to know. Is this a Northern Yorkshire thing? Or is this just an Emma family? To me, it sounds like a little Victorian lady going, we're going to go to the swimming baths.
He found it really funny when I was talking to you. I was going, we've been to the swimming baths. And he was like, what? What is that? And I was like, the swimming baths.
You went to the leisure centre or the swimming pool or the whatever it's called. It's like called like the health and fitness suite or something now.
Yeah. Help me here, people. It's what people say. Anyway, we went to the swimming baths and I was really impressed that it was all like porridge and like really healthy food options. Because I remember when I was younger, the swimming baths had like those big vending machines.
Oh, yeah.
And me and my sister were discussing it, how we all really wanted a lion bar because we loved the fact that it had a lion on it.
It'd be interesting. We need to talk to like our parents or something, but it'd be interesting to know in that weaning phase how much like these days there's a big push on like trying to keep sugar out of the diet and things like that.
That's another thing. We didn't do sugar for like the first year.
Yeah. Well, I mean, when you do baby-led weaning, you kind of start with vegetables and things. You work up to meat.
Yeah, you do, yeah.
You don't give them processed foods or sugar stuff.
And you do a thing where, like, I tried to keep a note of what she'd tried so we could try and vary it.
And we tried to chart, like, if there was a new food, we'd introduce it 3 times before we'd, like, give up if she didn't like it.
Yeah. And then, like, we introduced it later on.
Yeah. But I wonder back then whether there was less kind of focus on that and whether it was more... Well, I suppose you maybe just bought jars and it was whatever they put in the jars.
Yeah. I remember my mum said it was baby porridge, basically lived off a long time.
Yeah.
And jars.
Let us know what do you miss about the 90s food? Do you miss all the sugar? We've given up with sugar.
Yeah.
Now we're out of baby-led weaning.
We've all been like, baby-led weaning is great. Once we were out of it, we kind of went wild.
Ice cream, sugar, chocolate. It's just chaos now. Absolute chaos.
If we go to a restaurant now, because she's in this picky phase, I always order an ice cream for her just so I can enjoy my meal. And it's great because sometimes she'll have her ice cream and as she's eating it, she'll like pick bits of your food and then she's really happy. But sometimes I know I can buy her own meal and she's not going to eat it. Yeah. And it's a waste.
This is... I'm trying to get us towards the end and wrap up, but I've thought of something else. When they're in that baby-led weaning phase or just, exploring food, it's quite good when you're out and about. You can stick them in a high chair. And even if they're not eating, often they really entertained by just like having food to play with. Yeah. And it gives you a bit of, time, a bit of peace and quiet to actually eat.
Yeah.
Because like before that, in the kind of baby phase, when you had a newborn, eating was sometimes quite tricky.
It was,
You'd have to like take shifts.
Yeah,
sometimes
you hold the baby, I'll eat. Swap.
You like eat with one hand.
Yeah.
But then suddenly it was a revelation. Like she could sit in a high chair. We could eat almost.
Enjoy meals together.
And she'd spend quite a long time playing with food and eating it.
Even now, she's not bad though. It's just she won't always do the eatings.
Right, let's share some stories from parents, from listeners who have sent stuff in. One of the comments that we've had from a listener was around one of the first days when they went to pick their daughter up from nursery when they just started. He arrived and she was sat in one of those sensory trays, just shoveling Rice Krispies into her face and just eating them. I always find it funny, those like sensory things, they often use food to like create the sensory thing.
It's safe, I think. So they put it on their mouth because toddlers do a lot.
But Lily is just like this, just like this comment where it's like she'd just eat it.
Yeah. It's true.
A final story that's been sent in, a comment from a listener who they've just had their second child. They've got a newborn at the moment. They've said that it's a challenge again, just kind of relearning it all after having a break. You know, it's been a while since their first child.
Even discussing this, I'm really racking my mind to remember everything we did baby-led weaning.
Yeah, trying to get it to all come back.
Yeah.
And the other thing they said was also being careful to spread out attention so that the big brother doesn't get left out and whatever. Just the balancing act of having two children. So that's great. Fascinating. Yeah, so if you've got a parenting story, a comment, just anything you'd like to submit, a parenting achievement.
Yeah.
If you have thoughts on stuff that we've discussed, send us a message, comment on our Instagram stories, put it in the Facebook group chat. We'll feature or share it on an episode. That'd be fabulous. Thank you for tuning in and joining us this week or this time or however you're listening to them back to back, whatever you're doing.
Yeah.
We don't care. Listen whenever you like, however you like. It's been great. You've been with us in the Crippins in our imaginary igloo.
It's getting cold.
Sleep well.
Don't wake the baby.
Bye. That's it. Go. Be gone now.